The term great fighter gets thrown around a lot.
Chris Cyborg Justino is one of the most feared women fighters on the planet Earth. And Jacare has some of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu we have ever seen inside the octagon. Fabricio Verdum, in my opinion, he's probably the best submission artist the heavyweight division has ever known. He's with one of the best camps in the world with the Blackzilians. At his most recent submission of Josh Barnett, he submitted one of the best submission grapplers in the world. Haraguchi versus Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson is a flyweight fight between two of the fastest guys in the world that compete in mixed martial arts. His transitions between submissions and striking, wrestling and striking is the best in the world. Ronda Rousey's already one of the fiercest competitors the women's combat sports have ever known. You're dealing with an Olympic-level athlete who has, in my opinion, the best judo we've ever seen inside the octagon. Then, Andrei Arlovski knocks out Travis Brown in one of the greatest one-round slobber knockers in the history of the UFC's heavyweight division. And I think, with all due respect to Chael Sonnen, who I've always said is the greatest trash talker of all time, in Las Vegas, the weigh-ins were the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. The biggest weigh-ins the UFC has ever had. And the most spectacular version of a martial arts fighter the world has ever seen. He goes down in history as the most accomplished fighter ever. But he is facing not just the best fighter currently, but a man who has the potential to be the best fighter that has ever competed in this sport. And it came together in the most beautiful and poetic way possible with the finals. Stephan Bonnar and Forrest Griffin waged an epic war of mixed martial arts history. I mean, these are two of the toughest dudes on the planet, with George St. Pierre, who is arguably the greatest welterweight champion of all time, knocking out Travis Brown in one of the most epic first-round fights in the history of the heavyweight division, in the victory over Junior Dos Santos, one of his most impressive performances ever. Mark Hunt is a former heavyweight K1 Grand Prix champion. It is one of the most prestigious titles in all of striking and combat sport. There's never been a featherweight fight ever that has generated this kind of attention. There has been one UFC featherweight champion ever. That is Jose Aldo, and without a doubt will be the very best fighter that Conor McGregor has ever faced. He utilizes spectacular leg kicks, world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, ridiculous power and speed.
That might be the greatest title fight in the history of the light heavyweight division. Wow. Wow.
He has confidence and flair that are literally unparalleled. Fighters facing off in the biggest fight literally in the history of the division. You couldn't get a better style matchup. In Alistair Overeem, the very best striker, the most decorated striker in the heavyweight division by far. Renan Barão is one of the most spectacular fighters in any UFC division. He is a candidate for anyone's top 10 pound-for-pound list in all of mixed martial arts. The Nogueira fight was the most impressive performance in Frank Mir's career against arguably the most dangerous guy he's ever faced. Brock Lesnar, the guy who is a former national All-American wrestling champion, a gigantic man, freak athlete. I mean, you have never seen a man that's 265 pounds that moves the way that guy does. Every now and then, a fighter comes along that has knockout power that makes everyone else's knockout power pale in comparison. And that is what Anthony Rumble Johnson possesses.
Oh my goodness!
Total domination.
And he's dominating one of the greatest of all time. Daniel Cormier will, without a doubt, be the toughest guy that Rumble Johnson has ever faced in his UFC career. Nothing but good things can happen. Chris Weidman withstood the greatest barrage Lyoto Machida has ever thrown in the octagon and waved him on for more. Chris Weidman is the new breed of champion. He is one of the very best welterweights on the planet Earth.
Hand of Koscheck.
Josh Koscheck was one of the most successful amateur wrestlers to ever compete inside the octagon. Talking about a guy who was a four-time
All-American, is a spectacular amateur wrestler who's an incredible athlete.
Brock Lesnar versus Shane Carwin collide in the biggest physical matchup and the biggest promotional matchup in UFC history. If you watch his fights in Pride, I mean, Vanderlei was one of the most brutal guys to ever fight in mixed martial arts. If Mark Hunt can win this fight, it may very well be the greatest comeback story in the history of combat sports.
Unbelievable!